Om Gyananandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this very glorious month of Kartik, it's wonderful to take advantage of an opportunity to come together and hear about Krishna. As you know, this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Krishna's gift through Lord Chaitanya to the whole world, that everyone on every continent can understand the science of Krishna. Just like the sun seems to rise first in the east, but the sun is for the whole world. Similarly, Krishna has his pastimes when he's present in this world. He has them in India, but they're meant for the whole world. And Srila Prabhupada has proved that point. That bhakti is for everyone, everywhere. So let us discuss a little of Krishna Leela. First of all, we need to understand and accept that Krishna's body is not material. His pastimes are not material. Sometimes people look at the variegatedness of Krishna. His ornaments, his flute, how he dresses, the garments he wears, and they think, how can that be spiritual? They're thinking that spiritual means no variegatedness. Variegatedness, they assume, belongs only to the material world. This is the unconscious assumption. But Krishna's decorations, his ornaments, he wears for the pleasure of his devotees. Everything about Krishna is perfect and complete. Even when you hear about Krishna adjusting his hair or adjusting his clothes, it's not that there was something wrong. It's just that in the spiritual world, everything gets better and better and better. Perfect, more perfect, most perfect, and even more perfect than most perfect. Of course, we can understand, by understanding Krishna, we can understand the deficiency of material happiness. Material happiness comes and goes so quickly. And when you think you have it, it's decreasing. How many of you had the experience of material happiness always increasing? No. If you think you've got it, meanwhile it's decreasing. But as you sing every morning when you greet the deities in the temple, Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jwala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ananda Chinmaya. Everything about Krishna is always increasing in pleasure. And Krishna wants you, Krishna wants me to share in that Sindhu, that ocean of ever-increasing pleasure. Because Krishna is everything, that means he includes all happiness, all pleasure. So the first thing when we chant the Damodarastic prayers is to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namam Ishvaram Satchit Ananda Rupam. He's the Supreme Controller, even though he's playing as a little boy. And he's doing mischief. That's one of the points of Damodar Leela that are so paradoxical. We've just finished Govardhan Puja, and there were 3 initiatives Krishna had for enacting the whole pastime of Govardhan Dhari, lifting Govardhan Hill. Number 1 was to demolish Indra's pride. But that wasn't the biggest reason, but it was one of 3. Number 2, Krishna wanted to inaugurate, establish the worship of Govardhan Hill. And number 3, Krishna wanted to give the Brijvasis an opportunity to gaze at him 24/7 without interruption as he held Govardhan Hill with one finger of his left hand. As I've been explaining in previous events at other temples, generally the residents of Vrindavan would not have a chance to see Krishna 24 hours a day. In the morning, he goes to the forest, and so the villagers don't see him. In the evening, he comes back from the forest. That means all the living entities in the forest don't see him until the next morning. Everyone, the cows, even the gopis, they don't see Krishna 24 hours a day. Mother Yashoda doesn't see him 24 hours a day. But underneath Govardhan Hill, what happened? Everyone could just stare and stare and stare at Krishna. How would you like it if someone stared at you 24/7 without break? You feel very uncomfortable. But for Krishna and his devotees, this is the greatest experience. So, number 1, Krishna wants to demolish the pride of Indra. Number 2, he wants to establish the puja for Govardhan Hill. And number 3, he wants to give the Brijvasis a chance to gaze at him and just soak up his unlimited beauty. But what about when Damodar Leela happens? What are Krishna's objectives? Or what are paradoxes associated with Krishna? Number 1, Krishna is eternally free. He's beyond any restrictions, curtailments, impositions. Yet he becomes bound to a grinding wood. Number 2, how can Krishna steal butter when his character is spotless, Amala? Yet he engages in mischievous pastimes as a little boy, breaking into houses, stealing butter. And then, how can Krishna set the sons of Kubera free from their bondage as trees when he himself is bound? So you can meditate on these paradoxes endlessly. How is it that one who is bound can set someone free? So we sing, Kubaran Najal, Bhaja Murjaya Vayadva, Traya Mochita, Tata Prema Bhaktim, Swakam Me Priyasha, Namo Shegraho Mesi, Amodare. These sons of Kubera, ordinarily, Krishna would have nothing to do with them. They're rich boys, sons of Kubera, the treasurer of the Devatas. But because of Narada Muni, Krishna gave his mercy to the 2 sons of Kubera. They were cursed to be Yamala Arjun trees. 2 twin trees as big as a house. they were trees right outside the front gate of Nanda Maharaj's house. It even had a name of one of Krishna's dear cowherd boyfriends, Arjuna. Not the Arjuna of the Pandavas, but another Arjuna who's a cowherd boy in Braj. The Yamalarjan trees had the great fortune of having that name. So as you know, because they had been simultaneously cursed and blessed by Narada Muni, Krishna intervened. More specifically, Krishna fulfilled the blessing part of Narada Muni's treatment of the sons of Kuvera. Narada Muni cursed them and left the situation for Krishna to give the blessing. The Bhagavatam is a very beautiful verse, which says that just like when someone is face to face with the sun, there is no darkness. Just like I'm face to face with these lights here and I can't see anyone out there. Similarly, just like when someone is face to face with the sun, there's no darkness, the Bhagavatam says. Similarly, when one is face to face with a sadhu, someone who is determined to serve Krishna always, there is no ignorance. So even though these boys, these two rich boys, came in contact with Narada Muni the wrong way, after they suffered for their offenses, they got the greatest benediction from Narada Muni. So this shows you, just as if you come in contact with the sun, there's no darkness. Similarly, if you come in contact with a saintly person, all the ignorance goes away. Now you might say, what if someone makes offenses in contact with a devotee? Then their benefit is delayed. But after they suffer for their offenses, the blessing part comes from having been in the presence of a devotee. So as you know, Mother Yashoda has successfully bound Krishna. But what is equally as significant as Mother Yashoda binding Krishna is Nanda Maharaj untying Krishna. Did you ever think about that? First of all, how can you bind Krishna? Secondly, how can you untie him? Both activities are inconceivable. So you know the part about Mother Yashoda binding Krishna. She was determined to care for her child. This is Vatsalya Prem, love of Krishna and parental love. She was worried. This child is so restless. This child may just run out into the forest at any moment. And she had housework to do. Everything in her house is 100% meant for Krishna's pleasure. So it's not that she's neglecting Krishna. She didn't neglect Krishna when she put him down to rescue the boiling milk. And she's not neglecting Krishna when she wants to do some housework. So that's why she tied Krishna to the mortar for grinding spices. Now, one point you should remember is that Namaste Sudhamne Swara Diti Damne. We offer our obeisances to the rope that binds the belly of Damodar. Because that rope is paraphernalia related to Krishna directly. Therefore, it is not material, it's spiritual. Similarly, even the ulukala, the mortar for grinding spices, that's also spiritual. It's paraphernalia. directly connected to Krishna. So Mother Yashoda wanted to make sure that her little Krishna didn't do something dangerous by running out into the forest. So she tied him to this mortar for grinding spices. You know how. The ordeal she went through. One rope after another. Nothing could completely tie up Krishna. Each rope and combination of ropes was always 2 fingers too short. But Mother Yashoda was so determined, right? I will bind this child even if I have to stay here all day tying ropes. That was her bhakti determination. Any mothers here have that kind of determination? The other elder gopis, the elder ladies of Vrindavan, were watching and smiling. They were thinking, there's something special about this child. He can't be tied up. But Mother Yashoda was determined, I'm going to do it. I'm going to discipline my child. She's getting fatigued. Perspiration is on her head. But she has that bhakti determination, Vatsalya praying, that even if I have to stay here all day from morning till night, I am going to tie up my child. You see, the Damodar Leela took place in the morning. There were no men around because Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men were preparing resources for Indra Puja. So Mother Yashoda is taking care of securing Krishna completely on her own. So she ties Krishna up to the grinding mortar and then goes inside the house to tend for her household affairs. She felt safe, that everything is under control. Krishna's tied to the mortar by a rope, and there were also little cowherd boys, Krishna's friends, with them. And Mother Yashoda told them, you watch out for him. Tell me if there's anything wrong. So therefore, she thought everything is fine to go into the house and tend to her chores. But what was Krishna thinking? Tied up to the mortar. Krishna's thinking, I'm not yet finished doing mischief. Now it's time for me to do something even more mischievous than before. So he sees the 2 Yamala Arjun trees, big as a house. And he decides to pull the grinding mortar on the ground toward the trees. His cowherd boyfriends are cheering, Jai Krishna, Jai! They don't know what he's going to do, but just the fact that he's able to drag the mortar behind him, his little cowherd boyfriends are joyous about it. Now Krishna doesn't pull the mortar in a way that will make too much noise. Some acharyas say he pulled the mortar very quickly so that Mother Yashoda wouldn't have a chance to hear. She's in the house. She wouldn't have a chance to hear. Other acharyas say he moved very slowly so that the sound would be less. In any case, everyone agrees. Krishna is pulling, he's dragging the mortar behind him. He's playing the role of a child, so he does it very normally, even though inconceivable. How can a little child like that pull this wooden mortar? So this is the nature of Braj Leela, that Krishna does amazing things within the human context. Just like killing Putana. He killed her inconceivably as a little baby, but he does it in such a human way by sucking out her life force through her breast. He kills Trinavarta by riding on the back of the whirlwind demon. So similarly, Krishna is going to liberate the two sons of Kubera. But he's going to do it in such a sweet, human-like way. These are the childhood pastimes of Krishna. As the Dhammadarshik prayers say, these pastimes, Ichi Driksa Leelavya Ananda Kunde, these childhood pastimes drown the inhabitants of Vrindavan in pools and kundas of liquid ecstasy. Wouldn't you like to drown in such a pool? So Krishna is pulling the mortar behind him so that he would be stuck behind the two trees. And then when he gets near the trees, so that the mortar is stuck behind him, he gives a jerk of the ropes, and the trees come crashing down. Now what were the cowherd people of Vrindavan thinking, hearing such a sound? They were astonished, horrified, because it sounded like thunder in the sky without any lightning, which is considered inauspicious. So the men immediately started running. Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? What did Mother Yashoda and the ladies do? Fainted. That's why the men got there first. And so when the men arrived, they saw a scene that they could not fathom, they could not figure out. There are these two huge trees that have crashed to the ground next to Krishna. Krishna's covered with branches and leaves, but he's totally unharmed. And he's still pulling on the mortar. So the cowherd men are shocked. They cry out, "What is this? What is this? Why has this happened?" They couldn't figure it out. Was it the crashing of the trees? Maybe it was caused by the fact they were old trees and their roots were very weak. But the cowherd men looked at the trees, the roots, their branches, their leaves, everything was fresh and green. So the cowherd men were discussing among themselves, the trees did not crash because of old age. There was no great wind. There was no rain. There was no lightning. No mad elephants have attacked the trees. How could this happen? Maybe some demons? We don't see any demons. Maybe some devatas did this. We don't see any devatas. Now, here's the point. These Gopas, elder cowherd men, could have figured out that it was Krishna. The symptoms were there. You can look on the ground and see the scrape marks where Krishna had dragged the mortar in between the two trees. You can add 1 + 1 = 2 and figure out what happened. Why couldn't the cowherd men understand that? They were blinded by prema. They couldn't accept that little Krishna had done this. Krishna's cowherd boyfriends told them, Krishna did it, Krishna did it. Repeat. Krishna did it, Krishna did it. No, it can't be. They couldn't accept that. As I said, they were blinded by praying. So Nanda Maharaj, he starts to untie Krishna from the mortar. First he examines the limbs of Krishna. Anything wrong? No. Well, he looks unhurt. Then he starts untying Krishna. And Nanda Maharaj is smiling. Why? Because he doesn't want Krishna to be afraid. And Krishna is smiling. Why? Because he's afraid that he's going to get punished. But he doesn't want Nanda Maharaj to think that he's afraid. So he smiles. So Nanda Maharaj is smiling, pretending. And Krishna is smiling, pretending. But while Nanda Maharaj is smiling, he's thinking, my wife, why does she do this? He was a bit angry. Krishna, her little Krishna was just exchanging love with her. She tied him up. He was a bit angry inside, but externally he's smiling because he doesn't want Krishna to see that he's angry. And Krishna doesn't want him to see that Krishna is afraid. Oh no, first my mother chastises me, now my father's going to do it. Oh no. So Krishna smiles. Nanda Maharaj is thinking, Krishna always likes the lap of his mother better than my lap. But I'm the one now to untie him and relieve him of this situation. The cowherd boys, the little boys, keep trying to say, Krishna did it! Krishna did it! No, not possible. We can't even think that. What about these two boys set free from the being born as trees? They got the mercy of Narada Muni. In that way you can see that Krishna is the property of his pure devotee. Krishna Saitoma, Krishna Ditewa. That's why Bhaktivinoda writes in his song, I'm running after the devotee shouting, Krishna, Krishna. I'm not running directly after Krishna. I'm running after the devotee shouting, Krishna, Krishna. Because Krishna is the property of his pure devotee. As Narottam Das Thakur has said, Chariya Vaishnava Seva, Nishta Kayache Keva. Who do you know who's ever become free from material existence without the blessings of a Vaishnava? Not possible to obtain freedom from material existence unless you have the blessings of a Vaishnava. So because of Narada Muni, Krishna blessed these two boys. Now you may go back to the heavenly planets as pure devotees. Prema Bhaktas. This shows Krishna can give his mercy to anyone, especially if that person has the blessings of a devotee. So therefore we sing, Kumaratmaja Bhatamurjaya Vayagva. Two sons of Kubera. So decadent, yet they took birth as trees right outside Nanda Maharaj's house and became purified. And that purity reached its peak when Krishna freed them from the tree bodies. So we sing that they were free and Krishna is tied up. How can that be? What a paradox. And how was Krishna tied up? Bhakti Bhatam. He's tied up by the love of his mother. So here he is, tied up to the wooden border, and yet he's freeing the two sons of Kubera. You can meditate on this paradox eternally. So in this song, by Satyavrata Muni, it's actually, the Acharyas point out, Sanatana Goswami says, it's an eternally perfect song that manifests through the mouth of Satyavrata Muni. But it's just like Damodar Lila is eternal, similarly this song we sing is eternal, Damodar Ashtakam. So it begins, Namamishram, Satchidananda Rupam, establishing Krishna as Supreme Personality God, and then brings you into the intimate Braj pastimes, and ends on a very confidential note. Namo Radhikaya Chutaliya Priyaya Namo Nanta Lilaya Devaya Jubhyam. Unlimited, Ananta Lila refers to pastimes of Radha and Krishna. It's not said directly, it's implied. Namo Radhikaya Chutaliya Priyaya Namo Nanta Lilaya Devaya Jubhyam. It's hinted, the Madhurya Lila, because such things are not broadcast loudly in bright lights. They're there, but in a very subtle, guarded way. So that's how the Damodarastic prayers end. Just like when you finish your meal, you take a sweet. Similarly, in the 8th verse of Damodarastic, it ends with giving you a sweet. So this is our Kartik activity of glorifying Krishna, the Damodarastic prayers. By the way, who knows what day is tomorrow? I know it's Thursday. Gopashtami. That's the day when Krishna officially moves from his Kumar phase to his Pauganda phase. He goes from childhood to young boyhood. And that means he's allowed to take care of the cows. He's going from age 5 into his Pauganda years, which end when he's 10. Now, does Krishna have a material body? No. He shows these different bodily phases so that different types of devotees can love him. So when he's an infant in his Kumar stage, that gives Mother Yashoda her chance, Nanda Maharaj his chance to take care of the infant. And then he goes into his Pauganda phase between the ages of 5 and 10. And that gives the cowherd boyfriends a chance to play with him for sports, fighting, mock fighting. And then Kaishore, that gives the opportunity to whom? The young girls of Vrindavan. But Krishna has no material body. He just shows different forms to please his devotees, so that his devotees have a specialized chance to love him in a certain way. So tomorrow is Gopashtami, when Krishna and his cowherd boyfriends, the Gopas, are given charge of the cows, not just the calves. They graduate to take care of the cows. So that is the significance of Sri Gopashtami. All right, are there any questions? Now that I can see everyone, they adjusted the lights. Very happy to see you all, by the way. Thank you for coming on a Wednesday night. Thank you again. You'll have to pick the persons who ask questions, because I can't see the faces distinctly, blinded by the lights.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Maharaj, you mentioned in the class that by understanding Krishna, we can understand the deficiency of material happiness.
Yes.
The thing is, Maharaj, that I should say about myself, I never find material happiness to be deficient. I want more of it. So how as a spiritual aspirant do I actually come out of that mentality?
Our attraction for material happiness is a symptom of avidya, lack of knowledge. We're succumbing to the avidya potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I know you may never think about it that way, but our attraction to Maya is due to a lack of knowledge. Ignorance. Just like if someone's in the desert, so thirsty, and they think they see an oasis with water, when actually what do they see? A mirage produced by the sunlight hitting the hot sand. Now you know that, but do we know about the mirage of material happiness? No, we fall victim every time. That's why repeated hearing is so necessary. It's not what it seems. That's the definition of Maya. It gives you the false impression, the false reading, the false measurement, the false conception. So we need to study Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam endlessly and chant Hare Krishna attentively. Every day we have to keep our spiritualized senses sharp. Because Krishna says in the Gita, this material energy of his is practically impossible to overcome unless you do things his way. So bhakti, Krishna consciousness is all about doing things Krishna's way, and then you can see the illusion for what it really is. So just think what a real definition of a materialist is. We generally think a materialist is someone who has too much money, right? That means more money than us. We have just what we need, but the others, they are the materialists. I like this definition of a materialist given by the Acharyas. A materialist is one who has the pride that the material mind and senses can give happiness. That's a materialist. Remember that. The pride that my material body, mind, and senses can give me happiness. When I think like that, I'm a materialist. Very scientific. Anything else? That was a very good question. Thank you. Rama, you have a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice book. Even the Nagapur and Manikriya committed many sins, they still got the blessings of Narada Muni and became pure devotees. So, how does that exactly work?
Somehow they came in contact with Narada Muni. They suffered because of their offenses, but they also got his mercy. So just think, you don't make any offenses, and you please a devotee, just think what you'll get. Guru Krishna Prasade Bhakti Lathavi. By the mercy of the Guru, you get the seed of bhakti. They saw Narada Muni. They were in very bad circumstances, doing sinful activities. Still, they saw Narada Muni. That point cannot be denied. So first they suffered for their offenses, but then they got the mercy. Better not to make offenses and get the mercy right away. Your mother's teaching you how to do that. Yes? You obey her? Sometimes. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. we sing this Damodar come every day, but when we hear the first time from your mouth, then it makes us a bit more that is to go daily. My question is, in this try to understand Sapphire Harmony is very purely what is more, that it takes us across the past times, and Sapphire also prays that twice in that Ashtakam, not to award the liberation, and like Namam Shekha Homasti Damodareha, and
3 times.
3 times, Varam Deva Moksha. And then in the end, if you see, he's also getting into very intense fasting of his offering to Radharani, etc. So how do we understand as a practicing devotee that even Bhagavatam explains us that moksha, bhakti is beyond moksha, and the liberation is doorsteps of bhakti. So how do we understand the mood of Satyavrat Muni, even though he is very elevated?
He's saying, I don't want Varam Deva Moksham Namoksha. I don't want liberation into impersonal Brahman, number 1. Number 2, I don't want Vaikuntha liberation. Number 3, I don't want any kind of boons or benedictions brought about by the 9 processes of bhakti. Because as the 4 Kumaras say in the 3rd canto, by hearing and chanting, even if they're in hell, they can be in Vaikuntha. They can get that benediction. So Satyavrat Muni in that prayer is saying, I don't even want benedictions that come from hearing and chanting. What do I want? I don't even want to see Lord Narayan. The 4 arms. What do I want? May the vision of Bal Gopal ever stay in my mind. Never mind, liberated or not, let me always see the vision of Bal Gopal. Idam Seva Purnata Gopala Bal. So you want to be technical in that prayer, he's running through all the list of possible benedictions. Krishna is Vadadeshwar. He's the Lord of benedictions, but you have to know what benediction to ask for. So, in the Damodarastic prayer, you first say, definitely no liberation into Brahman. And you say, not even Vaikuntha liberation. Then not even any benedictions brought about by hearing and chanting, like Salokya, Shashti, Samipya, Sarupya. Certainly not Sayuj, don't even mention that. So I don't even want benedictions brought about by hearing and chanting. I don't even want to see Lord Narayan. Sanatana Goswami makes that point. Sanatana Goswami said, he's saying like this. What do I want? Just no matter where I am, what I'm doing, may I always have that vision of Bal Gopal. All right?
Also trying to understand that Srimad Bhagavatam also says Kama Upakama Moksha Kama Tirena Moksha Kama Udarati. So is this Tirena Bhakti Yogena? So is this moksha what's mentioned there is something to do with the moon? Because
when the Srikadeva Swami says Kama, Sarvakama, Moksha Kama, lusty for freedom from material existence. Never mind whether you're full of material desires, free of material desires, or longing for lusting for liberation from material existence. Never mind, engage in bhakti. Tirena Bhakti Yogi. So I'd like to quote from one purport Srila Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to attract all types of persons, whether they are full of material desires, free from material desires, doesn't matter. Let them all associate with devotees, and gradually they'll be purified. How many of you came to Australia just looking for Krishna? Raise your hands. But now you have Krishna. Even though you were not coming and looking for Krishna, now you have Krishna. So therefore Bhagavatam says, Shukadeva Goswami says, just like when someone is face to face with the sun, there can be no darkness. Similarly, when you're face to face with a determined devotee, there can be no ignorance. Last question.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you Maharaj for wonderful class. I have a question. How we say that this is one is belong to Radha Rani. Can you just put some nectar on it, please, so we can see how.
Nectar on what? I'm sorry.
So how this month connect to Srimati Radha Rani?
Namo Radhikaya Vadiya Priyaya Namo Nantanilaya Devaya Jugya. Sanatana Goswami in his commentary says, everything should end sweetly, and talking about Srimati Radharani is very confidential. First, make sure you understand Namam Ishram Satchidananda. Krishna is eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He's the supreme controller. Then understand all the other prayers of Damodarastika. And then, the end. Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya. I offer my obeisances to Srimati Radharani and her unlimited pastimes with Krishna. And Pranam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.